Harriet, it's great to see you. I know you and I talked quite a bit when you were on the campaign trail. I saw you right in the throes of it this week, and you really grilled Director Wray. It was one of the big highlights this week. You talked about issues, of course, ranging from the Bureau's alleged censorship of conservatives to their handling of investigations and to Hunter Biden. Did you feel you got to the bottom of it with him, or did you feel he was stonewalling?
Well, there's no question that he stonewalls every time he answers a question. What we have found with a lot of these administration officials is that they do everything in their power to avoid answering questions and not giving Congress or the American people the information that we're entitled to. So yes, he stonewalled throughout, but I think that there were several very important things that came out during the course of that hearing. One is that it was clear to me, sitting quite closely to Mr. Wray, that he is starting to get nervous about the kinds of information that is being leaked out there and that we are discovering. What was discussed quite a bit, and I discussed it as well, was the Missouri versus Biden case, where the judge down in Louisiana has concluded in a 150-page decision that the FBI and Department of Justice and a variety of other agencies were actively involved in suppressing the First Amendment rights of the American public, with everything to do with the Hunter Biden laptop, COVID-19, the 2020 election. You can go on and on and on. The most important issues of our time, we have not been able to freely discuss because the deep state in Washington, D.C. has wanted to prevent us from doing so. What was also very important under my questioning was that Mr. Wray has admitted that until the injunction was issued by the district court judge, they, in fact, were continuing to have regular meetings. They, being the DOJ or the FBI, were continuing to have regular meetings with social media companies, the very purpose of which is to try to prevent us, again, from communicating and to suppress our First Amendment rights.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, just as you just spotlighted there, that it wasn't until the injunction, and you even got that clarified. That was, I think, just a really explosive moment in the hearing. One of the other ones, of course, the FBI has come under a lot of fire for writing an internal memo that called for the surveillance of traditional Catholics. It's sort of called the Richmond memo, if you will. Chairman Jim Jordan raised this with the director, and I want to show the exchange and get your reaction.
Any idea how many Catholics there are in America, Director?
No, sir.
There's a lot, over 60 million. What percentage of those are radical traditional Catholics, according to the Richmond Field Office of the FBI?
Again, that product is not something that I will defend or excuse. It's something that I thought was appalling and removed it.
What did you think of that? Because he said, at first he said, no, it doesn't happen. And then Jim Jordan said, well, let's go to this Richmond memo. Oh, yeah, I know exactly the Richmond memo. So it was sort of this dance, this verbal dance that he was playing. Your reaction?
Well, again, what we find is that until we uncover the documents demonstrating the bad acts of the FBI, they will deflect, they will lie, they will try to send us in a different direction, whatever they can do. And then we show them a document and they're like, oh, well, yeah, okay, well, about that particular memo, well, we don't necessarily agree with that one. And then you say, well, what about all the other things that you're doing? What about your efforts to stop parents from being able to engage with their school boards? What about your investigation into pro-life organizations? What about your investigation into traditional Catholics? And they keep saying, oh, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And then we find the documents and find the evidence. And he's like, well, maybe we did it then, but we really are not trying to suppress anyone's First Amendment rights. That's what's so frustrating to me, is that we expose this over and over and over and over and over again. And yet we will have administration officials who work for the American people come before our committee and act as though we're the ones that don't know what we're talking about and that we're being radical and that we're being crazy. The fact is that the FBI and the DOJ have been weaponized against the American public by people like Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland. They need to be held accountable. We need to continue investigating. They need to be providing us with additional documents. And we need to actually hold someone accountable for the debacle of what is the FBI, especially the FBI in Washington, D.C. right now.
Yeah, it seems like no one has been held accountable, and even questions if there's been any reforms. Congresswoman Harriet Hageman, so good to see you again. Really wonderful to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Rita.